A good day to our lecturer and to our fellow classmates. Our team is called Grey Area and it composed of me, Ng Jibing, Goh Han Yi, Mok Hon Kit, Lim Xuan Yang, and Di Ka Kin. And the title of our subject that we are presenting is called Unemployment and How It Affects the Malaysian Economy. So now we should elaborate what is unemployment. It is defined by the OECD as all persons at the age of 15 and above who are without work, currently available for work, or seeking work. And there exist three main types of unemployment: frictional, structural, and cyclical, which we will elaborate later in the Q&A session. Whereas economy is defined as the relationship between production, distribution, trade, as well as the consumption of goods and services between various agents, such as individuals, businesses, and governments. And there exist two main economic theories. One is called macroeconomics, which focuses on the national level, on GDP and the trade capital and all that such. And the other being microeconomics, which focuses on the more private level, on the individual level, and on the business level. And next, I will pass on to my fellow teammates.
Since the independence of Malaysia, the government has introduced several policies to promote the country's economy. Among the policies, long-term plans that were intended for major economic changes and development, such as the New Economic Policy, NEP, National Development Policy, NDP, National Vision Policy, NVP, and the New Economic Model, NEM, was introduced. Firstly, the NEP was a 20-year development plan introduced in 1971. It was introduced to promote national unity by correcting the economic imbalance among races and raise the income level and increase employment opportunities to eradicate poverty among races. In 1991, the NDP was introduced as the objectives of the NEP were not fulfilled. It was also intended to promote economic growth and balancing the development in different areas in the country while ensuring greater material welfare to the citizens. Science and technology-based development was supported by the realization of the policy to promote adequate environment protection. Next, the NVP was introduced. It was introduced to build a competitive and flexible nation that is progressive and prosperous while improving productivity and maintaining low inflation rate along with balance of payment for position. Moreover, manufacturing and services sector were emphasized during this phase of economic history. Finally, the last long-term economic plan was the NEM. It was introduced in 2011 to achieve higher income and quality economic growth among the country. Next, I would like to pass to Hon Kit.
Okay, thank you, Xuan Yang. And now I'll talk about youth unemployment. It refers to youth who without work but available for and seeking employment. Youth unemployment is due to a lack of work experience, skills, insufficient education levels, and skills incompatibility to compete in the labor market. There are several ways to reduce youth unemployment. The first solution is to train young people, making it easier for them to master the work content. The second solution is youth unemployment services, where the government can set up youth service units to provide youth career counseling. A third solution is that colleges or universities can provide cooperative education and they can work with the government to develop financial incentives. Next slide, please. Okay, so the increase of unemployment rate will let the unemployed to face several drawbacks because of no income. It will also creating issues such as a recession, which means that there will be a severe fall in economic activity spread across the country for multiple months. Then, based on Phillips' graph we can see in the slide, higher unemployment also led to the lower inflation and vice versa. Inflation will indirectly affect the Malaysian economy in several ways as the purchasing power of people decreased significantly. The unemployment rate will also affect the labor market and decrease in productivity of the country. This will eventually lead to a currency circulation stagnant. After that, company would also suffer loss in profit and go bankrupt. And in the other side, not only employers, it might also affect the remaining employees as they will be overloaded with work and stressed out in the long term. That's all from me, and I will pass my mic to Kaki.
Thank you. Unemployment caused by a public health emergency, COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, from 2019 to 2021, the unemployment rate has increased obviously. Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, pointed out it is caused by the public health emergency in 2019 and its consequence. In this COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysian government implemented drastic measures such as the Movement Control Order MCO in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the Movement Control Order, people from all kinds of occupation in Malaysia are facing unemployment and thus impacting Malaysia's economy sector. The unemployment rate in Malaysia showed a consistent pattern throughout the year before the COVID-19 pandemic. However, as soon as the pandemic struck, Malaysia's economy went into recession along with the rise in the unemployment rate. During the pre-COVID period, the factor of unemployment and employability were because of lack of work experience, relevant skill or attributes, low education levels, and social competitions. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysia government planned to halve the coronavirus spread and then announced the Movement Control Order, M-Level CO. This action penetrates the labor market and workers. Therefore, it affects the employment rate in Malaysia. SME during COVID-19 pandemic, small and medium enterprise, SME have played a vital role in the transformation since the 1990s and provided employment and business opportunity to the people in Malaysia. During the pandemic, 87% of SME businesses owners have reported a loss of profit due to a massive sales reduction. The decline in sales has caused the businesses owner to develop negative real and economic growth. After all the tough time, many SME businesses which could not withstand the loss were forced to shut down during the MCO period. This resulted in a drop in SME participation in the country GDP. COVID-19 statistics. COVID-19 has led to increased unemployment and economic decline in Malaysia. Unemployment also has a significant impact on our country trade. Unemployment will also lead to a decrease in the production efficiency of the country and the supply of the domestic product will decrease. Inflation indirectly affects the Malaysian economy and excessive consumption lead to sudden commodity rush purchases and bank run. Thank you. I will pass my mic to Han Yi.
Thank you, Kakin. The solution to the recession in Malaysia caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The government has implemented the National Recovery Plan, which helps the country reduce the number of confirmed cases and indirectly revive the Malaysian economy. In addition, the government also plans a longer development period, such as Vision 2030. Vision 2030 is committed to growing income groups in Malaysia and recovering the Malaysian economy. The government gives many companies a 15% discount on electricity bills. Hotels and companies engaged in tourism can enjoy a 6% tax exemption and a human resource development fund tax exemption. The government also has employees provident funds, the minimum contribution for EPF reduced to 7%. The government also provides benefits to the people, giving 100 ringgit or 50 ringgit to help families live. The government has also waived import and sales tax on machinery and equipment purchased for 3 years. Finally, Bank Negara Malaysia provide 300 million for SME to automate and digitalize facilities to facilitate the development of SME. This measure encourage public and private investment. Thank you, and I pass my mic to Zibeng.
Therefore, in conclusion, through our study, we can definitively confirm that unemployment is indeed an influential factor for a nation's economy and can be detrimental to a nation's economy if left unchecked or when facing a crisis, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, as we have mentioned earlier. The data we presented thus far have shown this. Therefore, it is wise that the government should be aware of the unemployment rate as well as other economic factors at all times to implement necessary measures and policies, both for the short term and the long term, in order to ensure a stable economic growth. And now we shall move on to the Q&A session.
To start off the Q&A session, what is the relationship between unemployment and the crime rate?
I will answer this question. As the unemployed suffer from social issue and lack of income, they commit crimes. Theft and robberies are examples of crimes arising from a lack of income. Because of the rise and rapid development of the internet, cybercrimes also tend to rise in tandem to physical crimes. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the rate of cybercrimes has increased due to unemployment and lack of income. According to Free Malaysia Today, FMT, around 13,000 cases of cybercrimes were reported in 2019. However, the number increased to 17,000 in 2020 and 20,000 in 2021, which accounted for 560 million ringgit Malaysia. Thank you.
Next, what is the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic to the Malaysian economy?
I will answer this question. The Malaysian government implemented drastic measures such as the Movement Control Order (MCO). In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, MCO encompassed prohibition to movement and mass assembly nationwide. Malaysians were barred from leaving the country. All local and federal industry except infrastructure, service, and all nurseries, government and private schools were closed. Under the Movement Control Order, all kinds of occupation in Malaysia are facing unemployment and thus impacting Malaysia's economy. First, the service sector, meaning that social distancing and quarantine policy caused a decreasing economy. Second, manufacturing sector, meaning that supply chain circulation is obstructing and disrupting. Third, agricultural sector, meaning that loss of income and inflation in food price. Fourth, building sector, meaning that building emission rates decrease. The last is mining sector, meaning that unable to exploit because of movement control. Thank you.
Lastly, explain the types of unemployment.
Okay, I will answer this question. There are three types of unemployment. The first one is frictional unemployment. It is a temporary state where one voluntarily leaves his job in search of another and is a form of voluntary unemployment. For example, wait for unemployment and seasonal unemployment. The other type of unemployment is structural unemployment. It is an involuntary unemployment because of a mismatch between the worker's skills and the requirement of the jobs. The last one is cyclical unemployment. It happens because of insufficient economic demand to provide jobs for prospective workers. An economic downturn such as a recession or financial crisis will force employers to hire fewer workers. For example, the labor market is never transparent. Therefore, the unemployment problem will never be zero. That's all for my answer, and we will end our Q&A session here. Thank you for listening.